We are today doing another speed run. That's right! Because Zenny just loves to do this to herself, doesn't she? Yesterday I told you about prepping the files, right? Because you want to be able to mentally not feel the load of your work. You don't want to be overload. You don't want to feel mentally exhausted before you even start, knowing how much stuff you have. So you kind of break tasks down. This not only works on file preparation, but also something else. See, like it or not, we all have only a limited amount of capacity and a limited amount of energy, mentally or physically, to do stuff. May it be stuff every day or stuff for every project, blah blah blah, whatever. Basically we have limited amount of capacity every day when we do something. And so there's this thing called autopilot that is really important. And what I mean by this is that remember when you post your art stuff, your sketches of the characters that you like, practicing poses and all that stuff. I'm looking at that and I didn't say anything because I don't want to make you feel pressured into following how I do things. But at the time when I saw your drawings, what I really wanted to say to you was, good, now draw it again. Because here's the thing, and I told you this before, which is you don't have a stable shape. And what I mean by that is that if I asked you to draw that, what you drew, what you've accomplished, if I asked you to draw that again, it's going to shape differently. And what you want is you have to master it so much so that you could draw it on autopilot, not blank-minded. Autopilot, which is what I'm doing now. Like, look at me drawing all these actions lines. I'm basically on autopilot because I'm so familiar with it. And here's the reason why it's so important to be able to familiarize with the pose, with the angle, with all of that, so much so that you get on autopilot. Because once you're on autopilot in doing these things, that's when you have the energy and capacity to think, wait a minute now, this proportion doesn't look right. Because you're not going to be able to think about proportion if you're struggling with the lines. You're not going to be able to think about proportion if you think, oh, this line is so shaky, oh my god, there's too many sketchy lines. You're not going to be able to think about that. You have a limited capacity to deal with one problem or few problems at a time. So it's very important that you have to do one skill, master that, get it on autopilot, and think about the next step. That's one of the things that I had to do. So, like, if you asked me, for example, can you draw this arm over and over and over again and have it generally similar in the same shape? Can you draw it 10 times, 20 times, and have it generally in the same shape? I could answer you yes. Yes, I can. And by the time you're able to do that, you're basically on autopilot when you're drawing this arm in this angle with this type of muscular structure or length or whatever. Then you can think, okay, wait a minute, maybe I could draw the muscle structure better. Maybe I'm missing some of the joint, like the bumps and folds in the arm. Maybe my arm pose is not that great. Like, it's only then when you get some stuff on autopilot do you have the capacity to think, wait a minute now, and that's when you should really judge your art. You shouldn't judge your art when you're still struggling with the basic stuff like smooth outline, for example. It all boils down to, can you mentally handle the task that you need to do? And one of them is prepping the files. The other one is, can you get a skill set to the point of autopilot? People are mentally exhausted, or they get discouraged, or they feel overwhelmed and all that stuff. And I wouldn't even tell them to suck it up and push it through and just practice and practice until they get good. And this is coming from someone who actually went through that process, and I'm like, that's the most horrible feelings. It sucks. I'm not going to put you through what was not successful for me. That mentality does not work at all. And I'm a workaholic, by the way. A workaholic tells you that grinding shit doesn't work. You better listen. when you're drawing the same arm 30 times, for example, you're eventually going to feel bored. So what you need to do then is not push it through, but rather think about what makes it fun for you. Let me give you an example. Take what I'm drawing right now, Atlas Reactor. It has a storyline, it has different angles, it has many pages for me to practice many things, but let's just focus on one thing. Let's say I suck in practicing dialogue. Not like you know, how to write a conversation, but like, oh, I don't know where the speech bubbles go, and I don't know how to make the words big and small, and to make it look better, and all that stuff. You have so many pages to practice dialogue that has so many situations. It's hard to get bored at that, but you are practicing. Yes, each speech bubble might be a little bit different depending on the situation, but you are practicing speech bubble. That is an undeniable truth, you know what I mean? Switch it up. Make it fun for you. What do you think is fun for you? And use that to merge with what you need to practice. How do you go on repeating the same arm for fun? You don't? So here's how I do it. The reason why I got to work on this arm so well is because I have this project, like a story. So when you're drawing the arm, you're not thinking about, oh, I gotta get this arm right. What you're thinking about is, oh, I gotta get this story to look decent. It's a completely different mindset, and so your pressure or your stress is on a completely other thing that might be better. Like, sometimes stress on one thing is not good, but it works wonders on another thing. So if you're anything like me, I would say that what you need is that you need a project. It doesn't have to be a comic, it doesn't have to be a story, but you need a project that involves learning this technique but masking it as if it's not, so that your mind would think that the point of this project is on something else while your skill is leveling up with it. Does that make any sense? I wouldn't know what kind of project would motivate you more, would be able to distract you enough from knowing that, hey, this is not a practice, this is a project. And the point of this project isn't to judge how much I suck at, say, arms, and so I have to practice arms. But what does it take to get this project decent? And that's when you realize you would be able to accept a lot of things like tracing from references, because it's not about skill anymore. And well, yes, it is about skill, but it will quietly improve while you're thinking about what it really takes to make this project better. Now, tracing and taking references are very different. Or rather, copying as in like, oh, claiming it as mine. So it's like, you can't just take someone else's work, like, literally take someone else's line art, put it in yours, Photoshop it here and there and say, okay, I made that. Like, you can't do that. But just like what I did with Gray in this part, where I screenshotted and then traced over it, and I'm still drawing it, I'm still making changes and all that, but for accuracy, that is acceptable. Does that make sense? It's a kind of a grade line, but you kind of get what I mean. And I'm pretty sure any artist or anyone who any developer who's worked on this would know, yeah, she traced it. Yeah, she traced it. But it looks goddamn good, though. But yeah. You might want to prioritize project over skill. And your skill will grow with your projects in more ways than one. One of the other stuff that I've learned about art, especially like you're treating it as a hobby, is to not take it too seriously. So you made a mistake. So what? Being able to laugh at your mistake, that's one of the things that solves a lot of our stress and all that stuff. It's like, you made a mistake, correct it and move on. Make a giggle out of it, and maybe you'd feel better. And trust me, as someone with huge ego, it's really hard for me to do that. Well, what I want for your lines is to be consistent. So, it's not so much as you need to be smooth, but rather, do the lines you draw express exactly what you want. As in, does it fit the style that you're going for? Because if it doesn't, then you're doing yourself a disservice. Like, I've seen people who draw wonderful art and they use sketchy lines. That's fine if you could make it work. That's the point. With me though, personally, if I were to give a standard, I would say you need to be able to be flexible. You could have sketchy lines, but when the time calls for it, you need to be able to pull off smoothness if you need to. Smooth as butter. Okay, actually, you know what? Take what I'm drawing right now, for example. Every time I open up another file, you'll see most of the stuff done. Maybe not the sketch, like the blue lines that you see here, but you would see the sketch I did on the paper transferred onto that page. You would see a lot of the panels already cropped out. You would see all that, and that's called file preparation, or page preparation if you like it. And honestly, just by doing that to every page first, before I actually get into these details like what I'm doing now, that actually helps me mentally push forward. It doesn't feel like, oh my god, I have to do this and that, and mentally it feels quicker. Is it actually quicker? Maybe not. Maybe it isn't, and maybe I'm just fooling myself, but it's this kind of fooling that makes you think, yeah, see, it's not that bad, it's not that much work. File preparation, in my opinion, is very important, and it helps with your mentality when you're drawing something. It's like I can get into the nitty-gritty right away the moment I open up the next file. Let me pause here just a little bit and demonstrate, right? This is page 16. I'm gonna open up page 17, and I can bet that most of the file preparation is done. Yeah, pretty much, you see? Not counting this thing, right? See, I have the page size, the resolution, the text layer is ready to go. It's not exactly that text, but the text layer with, okay, you can't see it here. There we go, let me jump this. Okay, the text layer right here on the right bottom, the layer and everything that has every special effects that goes on it, or whatever you call them, it's done. So like, when I go on a say a normal layer and I draw, it's like this, but when I specifically need the text to have a line, it's already prepped. You see what I mean? So I could literally just do this, and boom, we have a speech bubble box done with the outline, with the back shading. It's all done. And then all I have to do later when I finish this one is I just have to change this, give it a speech bubble, boom. And then the panel for the boxes for the panels, they're done, unless there's like special paneling, that of course that's not going to be done, but it's going to be mostly done. At least all the boxes on the bottom are done. And then there's the sketch, but there's also this is already in place. You can kind of see it. The sketch is just making it more detailed. Sometimes I'll even prep the individual panels. And like I said, like, if you prep these ahead of time, when you open up another file, when you're done with one page and you open up another file, you don't feel like you don't feel tiring. And here's another thing, it's like you wouldn't also feel tiring when you're prepping these files, because it's like copy, paste, drag, cut, boom, done, next page, boom, done, next page. And then when you're all done with this set of tasks, you go back. And it just feels much easier. It just, again, mentally, you have to understand that there are things that make you mentally tired, and you have to work around that. And for me, at least, I can't say for everyone, but for me, at least, prepping files, may it be animation files or pages like these, it super helps. This is how I'm able to push through. Because I get tired as well. I get pissy as well. I get friggin' impatient. I mean, this is not a context about who's worse. The point is, though, you can't let that beat you. That's the point. It's like, yeah, I know my ego, and I didn't let it win. I didn't let the lack of confidence win over me. I didn't let it stop me. Can you win over that? That's the problem. You can know about ego or the lack of confidence as much as you like, but can you win? But no, anyways, my point was, we're drifting off from the point. My point is that, sometimes you have to admit that shit's just mentally draining. It just is. It just is. So, once you're able to understand that, you're able to stop smashing your head against the wall and asking yourself, why can't I just do it? You know, it's like, yeah, you gotta make it work some other way. You just gotta make it work some other way. Know yourself and work with yourself. If you smash your head into the wall or forcefully do a task, you're just gonna end up with a bloody head. Yep. And that's all you can do. Try. Try your best. And here's the thing. Don't be afraid of failure. As in, like, if you tried for 10 years, let's just assume, okay, for argument's sake, let's say you did try 10 years, and you still feel like this is not where you want to be. However, if you feel like you have passion and you actually have some results that you want, that satisfy you in another area, may it be whatever, let's take gaming because it's all the rage nowadays with the kids. But let's say you actually get the feedback or the satisfaction you want in another area. There is no shame to change route. It's okay. What matters is that you learn. I personally think that's the most important thing. What matters is that you've learned. Doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. What matters is that you learn. That's a spoiler. You totally didn't see that. Thinking of it as a hobby is pretty good too. I honestly encourage people to start off thinking these things as a hobby, because if you put too much pressure on you, make money. No offense, but that is not the point of art. And that's certainly not why you started it with art. Most people, if you're not money hungry, most people don't start with, I want to make money off of this, that. They start with, I want to make something cool. I want to do something cool. And that's great. But once you get obsessed with numbers, or did someone comment, or, you know, is there any form of feedback at all? Oh Lord, that's when everything goes to shite. I remember back in the day, listen to me with this old Zenny talk. Back in my days, I remember constantly checking DeviantArt, trying to see if the numbers have bumped up, may it be views or favorites, and I would be so happy. Nowadays, I can't give a fuck. I don't care if you like it, I like it. There are three ways to do shading. One is to choose the lightest shade, and then just get darker with every layer that you shade. The second one is using the darkest shade first. That might not always be just pure black. So, darkest shade first, and then go upward as you work. And then there's the kind where it's like, you're not really sure what's the lightest or the darkest, so you go for the middle one. Now, with the way that I'm shading this thing, it's better if I use either the darkest shade first or the lightest shade first. And usually I would go with the lighter shade first and go dark, which is what you're seeing me doing right now. Like you see, after I deselect some of the parts and then I turn it darker. Oof. Okay, it's not 9:30 yet, and I know I've been repeating this for a while, but I'm literally almost done. Oof. With this panel. I'm done with this panel. Okay, let's the next panel. We'll be able to finish this page today. We will be able to finish. Let's see if we can finish within 30 minutes. Okay. Oh, we're saving this. Okay, we're saved before anything happens. Whew. This is like art performance speedrun. It's honestly exciting when I get to do stuff like this. The speedrun parts, because I don't know. It's like, I don't want to say force improvement, but it kind of is, in a positive way where it gets you excited, you know. I'm not sure if I told people this before. Or maybe some people that have, you know, often joined stream, but like, what I'm doing right now is performance art, meaning that I'm generally not having much improvement if that makes any sense. Like, I am repeating a skill set or a type of stroke or a type or repeating drawing an angle that I've known and I've been practicing privately, off stream, constantly, to the point where I can kind of go on autopilot. So this is to me performance art. However, just like stage fright and all that, I do get scared and I do have anxiety that I might not do well on the first few strokes. So right now it's like I have double challenge. It's not just performance art anymore. It's also, can you speed run? Yeah. All right, that's it. Performance art up to here. I am going to go to my old page and see if I have the exact same angle of this hand and gun, and just copy paste. Cause fuck it. Oh, I know I do. I know I've drawn this gun for multiple times. I know that I do. It's just a matter of finding it. Yes, found it. There we go. Okay, we could use a part of it, but we're gonna need more. And let's save before anything. Oh no! Oh shit! I drew on the wrong layer. Fuck it! I have a. There we go. I have. Yeah, I have what it. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Ha 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 ha! Yes. There we go. We're gonna get this done before my 10 p.m.